Hi everyone, it's Stephanie Weaver here in the Blue and Yellow Kitchen where cooking meets culture. It's a little bit steamy and hot in San Diego because it is summertime, and I'm here with Microwave Boy on the camera. Hi Microwave Boy.
Hello Steph.
And Daisy the Golden Retriever is lounging out under the picnic table in the backyard, so you won't be seeing her trot by or whining for her ball today. So in case that's something you look forward to, it's not happening today. Today I'm going to be featuring Sweet Home Cafe Cookbook, which was produced by the National Museum of African American History and Culture, part of the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. It's an extraordinary book that I will be raving about shortly. I'm going to be making on camera Dilly green beans, which is part of the pickles, snacks, and breads chapter. And I'm also going to be showcasing the hibiscus and ginger sweet tea, which has been made up and is in the fridge because it needs to kind of do its thing, marrying. So I'm going to get the brine going on the stove, and then I'm going to kind of showcase the book. Then we're going to assemble the pickles in the jar, and you'll see how that goes. So we've got about 2 cups of white vinegar. So this is a 2 to 3 day process in the fridge. You want to let them sit. So I did already make some up that are waiting for me to taste them. And then we've got some salt, some sugar, some black peppercorns. I didn't have yellow mustard seed, so we're using brown mustard seed. Coriander seed are the big ones. And then that's what goes in the brine. So I'm going to stir that up. Nothing too exciting. You're just wanting to get everything dissolved, and then we're just going to warm it because you want to pour the warm brine over the beets. So I'm going to put that on the stove, kind of on medium heat. Let that come to a simmer. You don't boil it, so you just want it to come to a simmer, and you want to make sure the salt and the sugar is completely dissolved is your main goal, and that the liquid is relatively hot. And then when that's ready, I'll showcase how to do this. But let me just walk you through this incredible cookbook. So I had the opportunity to go to the National Museum of African American History and Culture, it's a long name, in DC a couple years ago. And initially when they opened, all the tickets were sold out for weeks and weeks and weeks in advance. Now the way it works, although of course everything's closed with the pandemic, but when things get back to normal, you can just go on their website early in the morning, like 6:30, and then you can usually get tickets. This is the museum restaurant, and the recipes in this book were diligently researched by food historians, including an incredible food historian named Jessica Harris, who's written multiple books. Was really hoping we could have her in the kitchen with us today via iPad. And then they also were developed and produced by Chef Jerome, who's no longer with the museum, but was really instrumental in getting Sweet Home Cafe up and running. And I'm sure he and his team getting these recipes produced and tested for the cookbook. So I just want to kind of showcase, I'm really going to just open to random pages. So here we go. So you get to a new section, and there is some sort of historical background on that section. There's photographs from the Smithsonian's archives. There's information.
So what kind of foods? How is this category?
Yeah, so the way, this is a really sweeping celebration of African American cooking across the Caribbean and the United States, because the enslaved peoples, who were primarily brought from Western African countries, were brought to the southern United States and the Caribbean as labor, slave labor for the plantations and to produce food. So the agricultural South was built on the backs of these enslaved persons, and they brought with them on the ships many foods from Africa. And so I'm also reading another book, Michael Twitty's The Cooking Gene right now, and it's completely blowing my mind. So much I never learned in school. Michael Boy and I went to school in the 60s. They didn't teach us any of this stuff. They might have mentioned, I think I remember like a picture of a diagram of a slave ship, and that was pretty much all they ever talked about. So I had no idea that so many foods were brought from Africa on purpose to be cultivated in the United States. They brought people who were experts at cultivating those foods on purpose so that they could be successful here. Things like rice, sorghum, Corn came from this country and went to Africa, so there was all this intermixing and intermingling. And so this book covers the seven regions of the U.S. that had sort of traditional types of African American foods. There's 9 menus in the back, so if you want to celebrate Juneteenth or other holidays, they have menu suggestions. And the food is also delicious. So it's things that you would think of as soul food, but also the more that I'm learning about African American history in the U.S. and the culture, I now recognize a lot of these dishes are African in nature and then have become thought of as soul food. So things like collard greens with pot liquor. I've made multiple times. We're now growing collard greens because I love them so much. The shrimp and grits. So the grits were the corn, which is New World, and then and some of the spices and the flavoring is African. And so I really appreciated that it was such a wide range. It tells you, each recipe tells you, so this is called Frogmore Stew, also known as Beaufort Stew or Low Country Boil. So South Carolina and Georgia. And so this would be considered Creole Coast. And so that's what I really appreciated about the book was not only am I getting the recipes, because I was really curious. I've never made soul food. I've had it. I'm obviously very white, so it's not, I didn't grow up really in black neighborhoods or around black folks, so I wasn't, having these foods necessarily. So I was really curious to try them and really understand them better. But I feel like I've just gotten such an incredible education reading the book, and also the food is delicious. So
what's different about what we're cooking today?
So what we're cooking today, so I just, and you can tell, like, when I make stuff, I actually write in the book, so some people think that's terrible. That's just, I like to keep track and notes, so I've made shrimp and grits many times from this book. So we're making dilly green beans. So one of the things that, there's no photo of it, but one of the things that is notable is that, enslaved persons had very small rations that they were given. They might have gotten some, cornmeal to last for the week, some not very high quality bacon or dried fish, and then they were allowed to grow their own fruits and vegetables in kind of a kitchen garden. And so preserving food in that scenario is really important because you grow things, then you want to can them and keep them. And so that's part of what this recipe is talking about. And then hibiscus, so this is, so I've always heard of sweet tea. I don't know that I've been enough in the South to actually have sweet tea. And when I saw it was hibiscus and ginger, I thought, well, that's interesting because I love hibiscus and I love ginger, and I'll show the case out in a minute. But that is, so this was their hibiscus flowers. They were grown in Jamaica, so when you go to a Mexican restaurant, they have a drink called Jamaica, which is the same drink. So again, all these cultures intermingled and brought all these foods together. So I just thought that, and because it's summer and green beans are in season, I thought this would be a great recipe to showcase. So let me just check on our, okay, we're good. So we've got, it's just starting to bubble. So I'm going to showcase this beautiful fresh dill and our green beans, which I've already trimmed to fit in the jar. So the recipe calls for 1 pint jars, and these are much larger. So the reason that I'm coughing a little bit is this is white vinegar, salt, sugar, mustard seed, and coriander. That's the pickling liquid, and it's just very strong. So what you do is you essentially pack the dill into the jar, shove it in there as much as you can.
Move it to the side.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Pack the dill in the jar. Yep. Let me move this over. And I'm just gonna, so I don't have a dried red chili, which it calls for, but I am growing beautiful jalapenos, which just ripened. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna slice this down the middle. And I'm going to leave all the seeds and the ribs in because I would like these a little bit spicy. Throw that in there. Try not to touch it because I don't have my gloves on. And then I already prepped up some sliced garlic. So that's what all goes in there. Then you pre-cut, wash and cut your green beans so they'll fit in your jar. And hopefully I did that well this morning. And then this all goes in there together, and then it just gets covered with the liquid, and you let it cool. You stick it in the fridge for a couple days, and then they last for, it's good for, it says up to 3 weeks. So you really just kind of jam it in there. Now this is not a fermentation process. This is a pickling process. So you're using the salt and the vinegar to pickle the vegetables.
What is the difference?
So the difference is, okay, I'm going to pour this, and then I'm going to set it aside because it smells really strong. You just pour that right over. Hopefully it's going to come right to the top. Yay! Gets right on my mouth. Just all that goodness goes in there. That liquid is what's going to make it really super flavorful. So the difference is that, so if you buy pickles in the grocery store, they are usually not fermented unless you're paying extra and they're in the refrigerated section. So fermentation is brine solution, salt and water. The vegetables get packed into a crock. You pour the brine solution over, you weight it down so everything's under the level of the liquid. And then there's an anaerobic bacteria process that happens that creates the fermentation that preserves the vegetables. Sauerkraut's made that way, kimchi, you can make pickles this way. There's a number of other things that are fermented. And fermentation is also vinegar, is also wine and beer. So all of those processes are that anaerobic bacteria in some way. This is using vinegar, which has already been fermented, to sort of speed that process along. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay, now I'm pouring my sweet tea, hibiscus and ginger sweet tea with a little bit of fresh mint from the garden. Look at that beautiful color. Gorgeous. I'm super excited. I have not tasted it. I made it the other day. Now this hibiscus will stain, so you need to be careful. So you can buy dried hibiscus flowers. I'll bring them in to the camera so you can see. Buy them at a Latin market, or I suppose if it's a market that serves like West African, if you have that in your area, probably sell them, not sure, but for sure Latin, Hispanic, Latino, whatever they're called in your area market, because they are a part of the Mexican tradition as well. So these are the dried hibiscus flowers, and you steep those with fresh ginger root and sugar. You steep them in water, and then you add the sugar, and then you refrigerate it. So that's that. And then here's our pickles. So you were asking me, my great boy, how would I use these? These would be a side dish. Summer picnic would be great. They'd be great, if you're going to do a barbecue, and this would be just there'd be a lot of side dishes, right? So you'd have maybe potato salad, macaroni salad, coleslaw, and this would be a nice way to have a green vegetable as part of that. So I have not tasted these, so I'm going to be tasting them on camera for the first time. I was worried they'd be a little too vinegary, but they're not. It's really nice. I want you to see the difference in color.
So there's definitely, I can hear crunching,
Yeah, they're very crisp. But you can see the colors change, right? As the pickling process goes through, you go from that bright green of the fresh to the preserved.
And how long was that in?
3 days. I made them 3 days ago. So I'm getting, yes. So there's definitely, they're not like limp or anything. These are raw, so they're not cooked at all. You definitely get the crunchiness still. So they have that nice, still firm texture.
There was garlic and cilantro in there.
Garlic, dill is the herb, so dill's packed in the bottom. You could add, certainly, cilantro. So you have to be careful with which herbs you use. They need to be very sturdy. So you could use something like a thyme, marjoram, oregano, dill. But cilantro or parsley would probably break down a little too much, and I don't know how much of the flavor you would get. I'm not tasting it. So this was I had one hot pepper left from when my friend went to Bali and brought me a bunch of spices. Not very hot. I don't really know what the story is with that particular guy. But I'm definitely getting a little of the coriander, a little of the peppercorns, a little of the garlic, for sure the dill. I was also worried they'd be a little too salty for me, but they don't taste super salty. So I think you know, again, I have not had a bad, I've made 8 recipes, which is actually a lot to make from a particular cookbook. They've all turned out really well. Let me try the hibiscus ginger sweet tea. Oh wow, that's so nice. It's a really nice contrast too. So there's floral notes from the hibiscus. There's a fair bit of sugar in this, so it's definitely sweet. Very strong ginger flavor, which I love. The mint adds a nice little element. I might next time actually muddle the mint, which means you smash it a little bit with the bottom of a spoon, or if you are a fancy cocktail person, you have a muddler, but basically just kind of bruise the leaves to get more of that mint flavor infused. But look at that beautiful color. And there must be some antioxidants or nutrients or something with all that beautiful color. So I did not research that, but that's probably the case. Ginger is very anti-inflammatory. So, and it is a very hot day here today. We're in our kind of summer season, so it's humid, which normally isn't here. And so this is super refreshing. So I want to thank you so much for watching. You can purchase this online from any online bookseller. You can purchase it from a Black-owned bookstore, which I really encourage you to do. You can just search Black-owned bookstores. If you want to support those folks in their community, they will ship anywhere. So but they may be a little backed up because people have been doing that a lot this summer. And then if you want to check out the museum, their website is not easy to remember. It's nmaahc.si.edu. But if you just search National African American Museum or some version of that, it comes right up. You can learn more about the cafe, about the museum, and also check out Chef Jerome Grant, who now is the executive chef of a trio of restaurants in the Washington, D.C. area, and food historian Jessica Harris, who hopefully maybe someday I can talk to about one of her 8 books. So she sounds amazing. I want to thank you so much for watching, and if you're interested in learning more about soul food, this is a great choice. If you know someone that you think would enjoy watching this or know more about this cookbook, please share this video. Follow me, SWeaverMPH, on social media. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, folks.